Hi, it's Pete Cann, the Laughter Man, and you are tuned in to today's episode of Laughter and Positivity with Pete. And today I have the privilege of interviewing and chatting to Jeffrey Briar, who is one of the, he's been practicing laughter yoga for years and years and years and years. And it was really, really good to get to know him, have a little chat. We spoke about, obviously the amazing benefits about laughter yoga, why laughter is so good for us. Dived in deep into his laughter story, how he discovered it, which is always really nice when you speak to the more sort of experienced laughter yogis, just how it's changed his life, and also about laughter yoga training, how he had discovered laughter yoga training and how he trains people now, as well as looking at his daily habits, what habits and routines that he brings into his life. And I think you'll be quite surprised about how often he does laugh and for how long he's been doing it. And probably one of the most interesting bits about the whole story I found, the whole interview, was the fact that the last time he was ill, because he had to really think about it, because the thing is with laughter, it increases our immune system, it improves our immune system. So actually having that conversation made me start thinking about when was the last time I was ill as well. So it's a really, really interesting episode. I hope you enjoy it, and if you do enjoy it, don't forget to subscribe and like my channel, because there'll be more podcasts coming your way. I've got a back catalogue of guests that I'll be editing and just sharing them with you now. So anyway, have a fantastic day, enjoy the podcast, and I will see you at the end. Hey guys, so thank you for tuning in to Laughter and Positivity with Pete, and this week I am joined by Jeffrey Briar, who is just laughing at me at the moment, and I'm trying to do this introduction, Jeffrey. So Jeffrey Briar is a laughter yoga leader, teacher, master trainer. He founded the Laguna Laughter Club, which he has had sessions of laughter yoga every day for over 15 years. Jeffrey is dedicated to there being more joy and connection throughout the earth, world peace through laughter. It's a goal. It's not a fantasy. I love it. I love it. Jeffrey, how are you?
Hi, everyone. I'm great. I just came back from the beach here in Laguna Beach and had a laughter session basically by myself. It was a broadcast rather than a club. But one friend came with me, and she sometimes joined me and sometimes she enjoyed the beach, walking on the beach. It was gorgeous. I'm
Amazing,
lucky to live
amazing.
here.
So 15 years. That's a long
Yes.
stint.
Thank you. Yes. Well, I studied with Dr. Kataria in 2005 in Switzerland, and as soon as I came back to Laguna Beach, I knew this was a good thing, and I wanted to have a regular laughter practice and a laughter club. So I started a laughter club. At first, we started in June. We met 3 days a week, but by December of that year, 2005, we were meeting 7 days a week. Now, I don't lead every session. I typically would lead 3 sessions per week, and the other 4 days are led by other people, mostly people I've trained as a laughter yoga teacher and master trainer. Um, but our policy at the Laguna Laughter Club, when we're meeting in person, which we haven't for about a year, but our policy is if anyone comes to visit and they've been trained by anyone, they're a laughter leader, whether with Dr. Kataria's school, Steve Wilson's school, Osho's school, whatever, we invite them to lead a laughter exercise. And so we get to enjoy new people, new exercises, new styles. If someone wants to lead the whole session, if they're visiting, like if you came to visit, Pete, and you wanted to lead the whole session, we would talk about it, because one person might be more attached to, oh no, I want to lead on Thursday because my mother's coming and she's coming down from another state, and so okay, Pete, are you okay with Friday? And Pete, if you said okay, Friday's good, if you'll be here for a couple of days. So now at the present time, and for almost a year now, we haven't been meeting on the beach as a group, because with the COVID pandemic, the the authorities discourage open gatherings of large numbers of people where everyone's welcome. So instead, I've broadcast a session on my Facebook page, Facebook Live, but I've done that every day for it'll be a year in next month. About a month from now, it'll be a year. So for 11 months, I've laughed every day, but it's been a broadcast, a gift, rather than with other people.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. So you mentioned that you studied with Dr. Kataria, but in 2005, you said, wasn't it? That's like so. How what brought laughter onto your radar then?
Well, I always loved to laugh, and I always loved to see people smile and look happy. And the proof of that is whenever you have pictures of me as a kid, and when I realized the camera was on me, I would make a funny face. I would do some kind of thing because I realized later when people looked at the pictures, they go, "Oh, Jeffrey, always making the funny faces." So as a child, I realized I liked making people laugh. And I also became a musician. And when I was a teenager, I went to a local festival, an outdoor festival called the Renaissance Pleasure Fair, where you're out in the woods and they attempt to recreate England at the time of Shakespeare with a country fair with all handmade crafts and the kind of foods that could only have been made back then. So there's no plastic, there's no concrete, it's just uh, that. And I started going to that as a musician. I also played the clarinet and the recorder, which the finger of the recorder is very similar to the clarinet. So I played the instrument, and in one day, me and two other guys, we dressed up as mimes just so we could try and sleep over illegally. And we had so much fun as mimes where, we couldn't talk, we could only do mannerisms, and whatever. We had so much fun that we decided after that we would consciously be comedy performers. So at the age of 17, I became a stage performer, trying to get people to laugh at what I did with my colleagues. Right? And around the same age, I also became a student of traditional yoga, stretchy yoga. So starting at age 17, I had these two careers. One was yoga, stretching, breathing, feeling more healthy, but not much interaction, not much friendship. And then I was also the comedy performer, getting people laugh. They're rolling in the aisles, falling off their hay bales, laughing. And then afterwards, they come and thank you, and they say, "Oh, that was so great. Can I be your friend?" So there I had social experience. So as a stage performer, I had social, but as a yoga teacher, I had health without much social. And then in 2003, one of my yoga students told me about a park in India where 200 people gather at 6 o'clock in the morning and they laugh for an hour. So my yoga teacher side heard, "Wow, India, home of yoga, 200 people, that's a big class. 6 in the morning, that's dedication." And then my stage performer side heard, "Laughing for an hour, how do you get people to laugh?" No way, because when you're a performer, if you do a good joke or a good comedy routine or a juggling trick, people laugh for maybe 10, 15 seconds. Maybe that. But an hour? So I was intrigued. So I tried to do some research at the time. They didn't have a website. After a while, plus the search engines were there was no Google in 2003. It was like you take your chance with many different search engines. But in 2005, I actually found laughter yoga. And first I studied with Sebastian Gendry up in Los Angeles. And then a couple months later, I went to Switzerland to study with Dr. and Mrs. Kataria. And once I'd studied with them, it's like, oh, I get it. Now I know what I want to do. And this is what I'm going to pursue for a while. So long answer
Amazing.
to a short question.
No, but it's nice. It's nice to hear the background and how they're
Yeah.
performing as well, because there's certainly some laughter yogis out there that the performance bit is part of their act, so to speak, or their thing, and yeah, and whereas you've got the other side that are a bit more spiritual, and they don't have the mime or the you could say, well, you know what fence I'm on anyway, which side of the
Ah,
fence.
either one.
Yeah.
If I may, I'll tell you a little story. So when I did
Yeah.
my teacher training in Switzerland, there were only three Americans. Most of the people were from Europe, and there was also a goodly number of people from Israel and from some Arab countries. But there was a woman there from Liechtenstein. And I said, "Oh my gosh, can I be your friend? I've never had a friend from Liechtenstein." And she said, "Sure." So this one was very big, and she was very reserved, right? So my style of leading laughter, partially because I have my background as a stage performer and trying to, be big animated, plus I personally enjoy the one thing with laughter is you can be very expressive. I like that. For me, my style. But this woman, that was not her style. She was more conservative and she was also heavy, so she didn't want to run around so much. So here's an example. So I would say, "Okay, everyone, we're going to do lion laughter. You put your hands like this, you stick out your tongue, lift up your eyebrows, and you go, ah!" ready, pounce. And, and then she said, okay, now it's her turn. She says, everybody, we are now going to do the laughter of the lion. You put the hands like so, extend the tongue and lift the eyebrows. Ein, zwei, drei, laugh. So she was so completely different from my style, and it was fine, right? Because when we teach people to do this kind of voluntary laughing, we tell them however you laugh is fine. You don't, we, the leader, we give an example, but you don't have to copy us. That's just a place to get started. And one thing you can do is when you see a woman like her, I would go, oh well, I want to be bigger than that, right? Yeah. Whereas when someone else sees someone like me, they can go, I don't think I want to be as crazy as him. And it's all good. Go for it, if you want to do it's okay.
It's fine, isn't it? Exactly. As long as you're laughing, it doesn't matter how we get there. So how would you say laughter's enhanced your life then?
Well, in a number of ways. The first one that always comes to my mind is the social aspect, because through the Laughter Club, I now have my best and closest friends. People I'd never met before. Some of them I have very little in common other than we love to laugh. We love to go to the beach. We love to do something that we know is good for our health, and yet it's not, it would be different if I was going to the gym and trying to build my muscles and competing, because I go to gyms sometimes. And that level of friendship, hey, nice pecs you got, dude. What's your secret to that six-pack? That's okay, one thing. But people don't ask you, what's the secret to your laughter? They just kind of say, wow, I wish I could laugh like you. And you say, well, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. While coaching, first, breathe in deeply. Open your mouth really big. Go, right? So where was I? Oh, yeah, so number one benefit is social. It's kind of crippled now because of the pandemic, but it used to be that before the pandemic, I would have so many offers of social events, to go to a movie, go to a play, come over to someone's house, just have dinner, watch a movie, watch a TV show, whatever. And that was a real shift from my previous life, especially when I was a student and then just a yoga teacher. Because pretty much in yoga, people tend to keep to themselves, or this is traditional yoga, or if they do socialize, it's always kind of mellow. These are my friends I seek mellowness with, for the most part. But with the laughter people, it's kind of like, yeah, sometimes we laugh and we're crazy, and sometimes it's whatever, and we just hang out. So that number one benefit has been the social events. Number two benefit, which I forget how important this used to be, but because now it's so different. So my personal health, right? Because I counted, typically before laughter yoga, I would be sick about 21 days a year. So that would be a 2-day flu, a 3-day cold, a bad one, 7 days. And by sick, I mean feeling so ill that I didn't want to go out. I just wanted to stay home, drink tea, lie in bed, and wait for it to pass. Okay, so I averaged 21 days a year for most of my adult life. But since doing the laughter every day, remember, I laugh every day, 15 minutes, no exception. No, maybe 3 days a year I miss because I'm traveling to Europe, and I'm changing planes, and I forgot to laugh. And when I land, they go, oh, guess what? It's tomorrow. Oh, I guess I didn't laugh yesterday because I was on the plane. So, but basically, I laugh every day. So from that, my immune system has gotten stronger now, so that if I start to feel like I've got a cold coming on, I be sure to laugh. I don't say, oh no, I might get a cold, I'll take it easy. No, I go, no, I need the boost to my immune system, I will laugh. And then generally, all colds disappear. That's the same day I laugh is the day I look back and I go, hey, this morning I thought I was going to have a cold. Well, that's gone. That's history. So now I probably average maybe 2 or 3 days every 3 years.
That's really interesting, because now you've said that, it's made me think about, when I was last ill, and yeah, I can't remember. And you get that little feeling that something's coming on, can't you? You do get that, like you say. But if you laugh, and yeah, I mean, it's just the proof is in the pudding. It's ultimately if you it does strengthen your immune system, which
does. It's like it's whether you can measure, and you can measure, you can take blood and see the lymphocytes and immunoglobulin A, if you care about that stuff. Americans tend to care about that stuff. You can measure it. But most is like my fellow laughter club members, because there's maybe 4 or 5 people who laugh at least 4 days a week. We'll compare notes and we'll say, when was the last time you had a cold? And they go, I think it was 2017, or maybe it was 2016. I don't know. Like we stopped keeping, and it used to be like every winter, 2 or 3, it was predictable. But now it's like, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's number 2. I could go on, but those are first social and second health.
Yeah, amazing. That's amazing. You're right. I mean, as well, because I've again through lockdown, it's where the laughter's really started moving for me. So my way that like the connection is through screen, but I feel that I've got a deeper connection with a lot of people through laughter. And it's, because I did have a club before lockdown, and there was a few people that used to come. I'd only done it a couple of months, so I'd only just started. But you feel that actually when you're having these connections with people, that actually this it's deeper than just like, hey, how you doing? It's when you get that uncontrollable laughter with each other, it's an amazing experience, isn't it?
Because one of the messages of laughter. Actually, there's a really nice book. I don't have it handy. Okay, so there a fellow who is an ecologist looks at all the things that make up an environment. Wrote a really cool book. It's called Why We Laugh. Why We Laugh. And his theory about why we laugh, based on also what animals do, as well as humans, is laughing, at least on one level, is an expression of vulnerability. Right? When the two wolves puppies are fighting, but they're play fighting, they growl, they laugh, they make noises, and they actually expose their neck. Go ahead, grab me by the neck. Which, if it was a real predator, they wouldn't do that because they make themselves vulnerable. So one of the messages of laughing with another person is, okay, I'm vulnerable. I trust you. And the other person is doing this, me too. I'm vulnerable and I trust you. And then you share the laughter and you survive and you don't tear out their neck, figuratively speaking. And so that develops a trust. When
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
you're vulnerable with another person and they don't take advantage of that, but rather they say, me too, I'm vulnerable too. That creates a relationship which is precious, and we need more of that.
Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting as well, actually, because I think back to when I was at school. I'm not just going, when we've all hit teenage years and maybe a bit of testosterone was kicking around, you get the bullies in the playground. But I was the joker. So I never got into any trouble. I used to just make people laugh. And actually, that's a good defense mechanism as well, like to make people laugh. I think that's, yeah, just like you said, you've touched on the vulnerability side of things, is actually being able to make someone laugh and step out of the situation is probably, it's another bonus. Not that I'm saying I used to get in a lot of fights, Jeffrey. That's not what I'm saying. So
Learning to laugh is a wonderful technique to avoid getting into a lot of fights. Patch Adams. Patch
yes,
Adams,
yeah, yeah,
everyone, if you don't know who Patch Adams is, okay, go look him up. Patch Adams. So Patch Adams, when he was, he had a near-death experience when he was like just, I think, a teenager, and then he decided what he was going to do was bring happiness to the world. So he would put on clown costumes and go into dangerous places and subways. And if things started to get weird, if the vibe started to get heavy, if it seemed like there might be some violence, he would step in and be absurd. He would be the clown and he would diffuse the tension. And he said he figured he stopped tens of thousands of fights by putting himself up to be the jokester. So,
wow. Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. Funny enough, I watched the movie. Yeah, that literally last weekend. I watched the movie. I know, obviously, but that
yeah.
bit wasn't in the story. Wasn't in the movie, was it? Because the movie was more about the sort of the hospital that they created and stuff. So you've obviously over the years and many years, you've run lots of laughter clubs. You've trained lots of laughter people. There must be some memories where people have come up to you and said, like, Jeffrey, this has changed my life because of this, and I'd love like a couple of examples because I think it's important.
Okay, let me tell you about Sharon. I'm going to show you a picture because Sharon gave me permission to do this. So Sharon, uh, in the days when we had Laughter Club that met on the beach, I'm going to show you a picture soon from one of my books. This is not a plug for my book, although if you want to buy my book, go ahead. So this is the color version of the book, the great big anthology of laughter exercises. There's a black and white version, very inexpensive, that's called Laughter Exercises, The Great Big Anthology. Okay, so here. Okay, so in this picture, Sharon is wearing the purple shirt.
Mm-hmm.
She's the one on one end. Okay, so one side is Sharon. Okay, perfect. All right. So Sharon
Yeah.
gave me permission to tell this story. So Sharon came to our laughter club on the beach, and she came fairly often for a couple of weeks, and then she came occasionally, and then maybe just once every month or so. And we don't care when people come, we don't ask them, do you have a disease? Are you fighting? We just say, come, welcome. We might say, if you've got something you think is contagious, stay back or stay home. Back then, contagious meant like a cough, sniffles, right? But we just say, just come and laugh, because we were so convinced that the laughing would strengthen our immune systems. We did it anyway. Okay, so Sharon came, and then she came less and less often, and then we didn't ask her why or anything. Just like, good, whenever you come, we're glad to see you. Old friend is back. Okay, and then eventually she told her story because we were being interviewed for a television show. So we don't interview the people that come to the Laughter Club, but this television show said, can we interview some of your people? And I said, sure, they're not my people, first of all, they're just people. But as long as you ask them and they want to, that's fine with me, yeah. And I said, okay, great. So they interview, because usually when they do these TV shows, they'll do 2 hours worth of filming and they'll show 2 minutes. But they take a lot of stuff. So they're interviewing different people, and they ask Sharon, so what's your story? What are you doing here? And she says, oh, well, I have terminal cancer, and my doctors told me I have 5 years to live. This was about 2 years ago. They told me I was going to die within 5 years. And I became really depressed. I was just miserable. I would stay in bed 3, 4, 5, 7 days a week. I'd be in bed all day. I just couldn't get up in the morning. If I would try and do something, run the vacuum cleaner or whatever, I was just too depressed. And I had grandchildren. The thought that I'm not going to see my grandchildren grow up made me even more depressed. Then I came to the Laughter Club one day, and I found that by laughing, I could relieve the depression. So I came many, many times for a couple of weeks. And now, this is Sharon speaking, she says, now I don't even need to go, because I live a 45 minutes drive away, and it's an inconvenience to drive all that way to come to the laughter session. Now, when I start to feel depressed, I just remember there are those silly people that I know and love, and they're laughing on the beach. And just thinking about them makes me feel better. I get up, I run the vacuum cleaner. Life is okay. And so that's when I learned about Sharon. And now here's the bonus to the story. About 2.5 years later, Sharon did die. And her husband didn't come and laugh with us on the beach. Maybe 3 times over the 5 years that Sharon was in our life. He would basically drive her to the beach, drop her off. He'd go do something else, have a coffee, read a newspaper. He did what he wanted to do, and she would laugh with us, and then he'd meet her afterwards. But now her life had ended, and he came to tell us, and he said he wanted to thank us for his sake, because Sharon was getting depressed and she was just going downhill, and it was like he lost his wife, who had been optimistic, happy, active person. But because of this depression with her terminal diagnosis, it was like he lost her. But when she started laughing again, she came back. So he wanted to thank us for giving us his wife back. So he had 5 good years with her. We did not cure her cancer. Sorry, I wish I could say we did. But we did cure her depression. And not only did we cure her depression by her laughing with us, but eventually she didn't even need to laugh with us. All she had to do was think about us, and that changed her chemistry to where now she was no longer a depressed person. She's kind of like, oh, well, look at all the time she saved. She didn't have to go to the beach. She just had to remember there were goofy people being silly, having fun, laughing on the beach, and just the memory brought her out of her funk and gave her life. So she had 5 nice years of life, and her husband had 5 years with his wife. So that's my story.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. That's amazing. And just the fact that, like you say, he got his wife back for those 5 years, which is because it could. Yeah, no. I love hearing these stories. I love hearing them.
That story, I think, is significant because sometimes we say when we teach this laughter without exercise, or laughter as exercise, laughter without comedy, we make the claim, some of us do, that not only is it good for ourselves, that's obvious, our immune system's stronger, breathing, obvious. It's blatantly obvious because it's a mild form of aerobic exercise. Exercise is good for you. But we make the claim that it's good for the people around you. And that's a little harder sometimes for people to get. But in Sharon's story, we have a very concrete example of someone in her sphere, who was not a laugher. His life was transformed because of the laughter of this other person. So keep doing it, gang. Share the laughter. You don't know where the waves of benefit are going beyond the person that's in front of you.
It's like a ripple. It's like a ripple effect, isn't it? I mean, the same thing. So I've been laughing. There's a new app called Clubhouse that I've been doing stuff on, and it's an audio thing. But I did a laughter. I go in and do little laughter sessions here and there, and anyway, this lady came up to me, or virtually came up to me, because obviously they're not coming, and said, Pete, it was really good this morning because actually your laughter rippled throughout my house, because then my husband was wondering why was I laughing? Why was I so happy? What was so happy about? She explained about the laughter, and then they started doing the giggle phone, and then that rippled, and then the kids were laughing, and it's just like, and that little droplet, it goes out, doesn't it? And it's not just that, Jeffrey. It's the fact that if you make someone laugh, you encourage them to laugh, they actually then go out. Like if they go to the shops, they're like, ultimately they're just more, their shoulders are back, their head's high, they're not like that whole slouching, just feeling down on themselves. So
when we fill people with cheerfulness, they become more cheerful people.
Yep.
Duh, Americanism. Like it's obvious. If people have more joy and happiness, then when they go out into the world, they have something to give.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I love about the traffic light exercise, where it's like the red light and just sitting there and just like and just doing that one, because it's just like, and you sitting there and there's someone car next to you, you're like, and they're like, what are you doing? You can't control anything, can you? You can't control like the light. You can't control what's going on in the world right now, but you can control your mind.
Right.
That's the really important thing. So, okay. So what would you say? I mean, you've been doing it for years. So you've got loads. I'd love another story. Come on, Jeffrey, give me another story.
Okay. A story about someone whose life was changed by laughter club?
Yeah, please.
Okay, other than myself. Oh, goodness. I always do Sharon first because she gave me permission. And sometimes with people, it's like, they say, oh, I can give you permission to do that. Okay.
It doesn't have to be a name, it's just okay, somebody.
Very good. All right, then I'll tell you about one. So there's one of our regular leaders, certified laughter yoga leader, who leads fairly often. He's married, right? And his wife doesn't like to lead laughter exercises. She'll come, she'll laugh. She's very much more reserved. So he's a little more, he's not out there like I am, but he's a little more expressive. But his wife is like, that's not for me. Now she would come to the laughter sessions almost as often as he did, but her laugh would be very subdued. Ha 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 ha. Other people are going crazy, rolling somersaults. He's going ha 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 ha. Great. Okay, but her husband, my friend, his habit was to always invite people to lead laughter exercises. As I mentioned, our policy is if you've been trained, you're invited to lead an exercise. You can always say, no thanks. But anyone who's visiting, we say, are you trained? Yes, okay, you're trained, you lead one. And if they go, no, okay, fine. So it's like we make it a point that it's not like my day, it's not my laughter club, it's our laughter club, and I'm the leader of the day. And part of what I do as a leader is I invite others to lead. Okay, so that's our point. Okay, so Dave, like a good leader in our club, asks people, are you trained to lead? Please, you're invited to lead one. But he would also get into the habit of asking his wife, Prunella, that's not her name, Prunella, why don't you lead one? And she'd always go, no, I don't come here to lead. I come here to laugh, no. So eventually we said, okay, we're going to make up a new laughter exercise. And it's called Prunella's laughter exercise. It was called Thanks, but no thanks. It looks something like this. No, no, no. Okay, so we're laughing as we say no, no, thank you, right? And so first she giggles, and then she felt honored, and about a year later she started leading laughter exercises too. And she wouldn't do that one. She would do another one. She would do the phone, or she would do the 1 meter or the milkshake, whatever. But her own self-consciousness just dissolved. It took a couple of years, but part of it was just letting her know it's perfectly fine. You don't have to lead. You don't have to be a leader, right? And then eventually she just embraced it like, okay, I'm a leader now. And now it's like, we'll ask her, you want to? And if she wants to, she does with confidence. And if she doesn't want to, she says, nah, not today. Okay, next leader. And then it's no problem. Okay, so that's a little miracle story, but it's an example of how the experience of laughter, the space it gives people, the laughter club, this unconditional laughter. See, it wouldn't be the same if it was come and tell jokes and we'll laugh more for the person who's the better joke teller. It's a different experience, But with this, it's like it doesn't. You can do it all wrong. It doesn't matter. We'll just laugh anyway. It's like, oh, I did it wrong. We'll laugh. That one. Okay, we're gonna milkshake. It looks something like this. No, that's not the one milkshake. Oh, we just did it anyway. And some people do. Oh, and other people, and she went, oh, okay. It's like, oh, no problem. Thanks for giving us something to laugh even more about.
Exactly, that's part of the charm, isn't it? If you mess it up a little bit, because it doesn't matter. You're just there to you're there to laugh, aren't you? Ultimately, and it's just like not taking yourself too seriously. Where I think just generally as human race, we take ourselves too seriously. Personally, I don't, and I'm sure you don't either, Jeffrey. So it's
well, I try not to, but I know I have my moments where I do take things too seriously. I know, but fortunately, I laugh every single day. I do laugh every single day. If I will, I'll tell you a personal story, which is important. This year, my mother died, and I lived with my mother. I lived in the same house with my mother, and for a while I was her roommate. I've always been close friends with her. We have a lot in common. She was trained as a laughter yoga leader by me. She was trained as a laughter yoga teacher by Dr. Kataria. She was a laughter ambassador anointed by Dr. and Mrs. Kataria. So she would lead Laughter Club one day a week. So we were friends, we were colleagues, and she was my mother, and I loved her. And she was an inspiring person, right? I was a member of her fan club for as long as I could remember. And when I became an adult, it was like, wow, this is a good person to be in the fan club for. And occasionally she would have a friend who would say, oh my gosh, your mother is such an extraordinary person. What a gift she is to the world. And I go, good, I'm glad I'm not the only one with that opinion, right? And starting in February, she began to experience the end of her life, right? She had pain, she had cancer for 17 years, kidney cancer. But starting in February, we realized it had spread, it got into her bones, and now she was in pain. And by May, she was in constant pain every single day. And so now this person I loved and I cared about was constantly moaning in pain. So now I'm her caregiver because she can't take care of herself. She can't drive anymore. She can hardly think straight. And now I'm also the advocate for the doctors. Hey, come on, doctors, get her out of pain. In the movies, when they're in pain, they just give them the shot and then they don't feel all the bullets in them. And the doctor said, yeah, that's in the movies. The story I kept getting from the doctors was, well, I can give her a painkiller that I know will get her out of her pain, but it might kill her. So what we have to do is try and find what works that she's not in pain, but it doesn't kill her. And I went, oh, darn it. I thought it would be easier. So I'm being with her through this process, and I'm optimistic that she'll get better until in August, when it was like, oh, it's clear that she's not going to get better. She's on her way out, and we got to the hospice thing where they're saying, okay, we're going to be more heroic with the drugs, even though the drugs might kill her, but we're going to more quickly try and get there. So they did. So through all of this, I'm, now I'm 24/7 a caregiver, and having to decide, do I get other helpers? Do I hire people? How much hospice will they do? They'll give so many hours a day, but not changing diapers, cleaning up, all that stuff. Through this all, I made sure to laugh every day. Every morning, I would laugh. And sometimes it would be like, hi. I mean, if you go through my Facebook, if Facebook doesn't erase them, if you go back to, May, June, July, August, you'll see this young man, well, not too young, this despairing man who's in the, 2 rooms away. His mother is ill, complaining, moaning, technically dying. I mean, eventually it was, I was giving sessions while she was dying and right next to me. He wasn't like gasping. It was like, okay, she's on her way out. And I know that if I hadn't done that laughter practice every day, well, I'm pretty sure that if I hadn't been continuing to laugh and give the gift of laughing to other people, I would have been a very unhappy person. And I probably myself would have been very depressed. And I would have been beating myself up. And I probably would have gotten sick. Because more than once in caring for my mom, I remember going, oh my gosh, this is too much. I can't do all this. It was just, stress. The definition of stress, one definition of stress is you're given more to handle than you feel like you can handle. Right? Because if you just say, oh, I can handle that, then it's not stress. But when you go, wait, I can handle 5 things and you just given me 75 things?
Yeah.
I can't, now we go into stress. Okay, so if it weren't for the release that laughter gave me and also the knowing that I was making a contribution to other people, I think I would have been a very unhappy, ill, depressed person. But by continuing to laugh every day, I think laughter has saved my life.
Yeah, and Jeffrey, I was watching from afar. I was watching some of those videos, and I'm just getting a little bit emotional now, just from his story, because so and it's so it's just really, like you say, it's really important just to have that. You had that as that it's escapism as well from I suppose the reality that was around your 4 walls at the time. Was that and just knowing that you were giving as well it's amazing, mate, amazing. So I'm going to move quickly from this.
Okay, let's get happy again.
So what would you say to somebody that was maybe unsure? Because a lot of the people that listen to this podcast they're not all laughter yogi, they're not all converts. Some of them are just going, I just don't get it. Like, what would you say to somebody that would say that?
I would say what you have to do with this work is you have to merely experience it. Put aside your judgment for, as long as you're willing, ideally 15 minutes, and just say, okay, I'm going to do a session. Yes, it may be, and then you put in all your adjectives: silly, absurd, embarrassing, whatever. Remind yourself that you'll take care of yourself, so you won't do anything that you think might physically cause you damage, regardless of whatever the teacher says. And even if other people are rolling on the floor laughing and kicking their legs in the air, but for you that doesn't work because your body's not ready for that. Respect yourself. Respect your physiology, that you won't get hurt. But just try it. And the one thing I would suggest is check in with yourself before you try it and evaluate honestly how you feel, your emotions, your energy level, your vitality level. Then do the laughter session, as absurd as it might be. If you can't give yourself 15, do 10 minutes. And then afterwards, but I mean really do it. Like, I'm going to try this silly thing. Just like if you're going to say, I'm going to try swimming, you don't just stand by the pool and you look. You actually go in and you try, different strokes, whatever. You move around, you get in the water, and you experience it, right? Then when you get out, in this case, when you get out of the laughter experience, then once again run that scan of yourself. How do you feel energy-wise, emotionally, vitality, anything? And I think you will find that there's been a substantial improvement, meaning you feel better, you're happier, whatever your measure is, more energy, more positive emotions, whatever, from that experience. So that's what I think you have to do. You just have to experience it, because we can talk about it all we want and talk about, dopaminergic upregulation in the nucleus accumbens. Oh, doesn't that make you feel happy already just to know the words? No, it doesn't. But that's some psychoneuroimmunologists came up with a definition of happiness. I'll say it again. Dopaminergic upregulation in the nucleus accumbens of the brain. That means a part of your brain that's sensitive to a neurotransmitter called dopamine has a lot of it. And when you have a lot of dopamine, that's upregulation of dopamine. In this part of your brain, the nucleus accumbens, we have the experience we call being happy, right? So yes, we can tell you that laughter will do that. But when you do the laughing and you feel better, who cares about the scientific name? You know.
Yeah, exactly,
Okay.
exactly. So
So
this
that's
leads us
right.
on nicely. Two laughing exercises then, Jeffrey.
Oh, okay.
You're gonna lead two exercises for me.
Okay. First one. Okay. First one we're gonna do is one I think I made up myself, but it doesn't matter who made it up. I call it open-hearted laughter. So sometimes you place your fingertips towards the center of your chest, like where your heart is, and then you bring your arms forward and spread them apart, as though you're throwing out a big embrace or offering a hug, or you're opening your heart to others. And you do this many times. So hands come to the chest, hands open out wide, and if you can, connect with other people if there are other people around you, or move around the space where you are. Connect with your computer speakers, connect with your backpack, connect with your pillows, connect with your chair. So you're opening your heart and connecting with all these things. And as you're doing it, you're laughing. Okay, what do you think? 30 seconds?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay, here we go.
All right.
Open your heart for 30 seconds. Laughing. Ready, set, start. Very good. Relax, relax, relax. Okay, my second laughter exercise is going to be gradient laughter. So we're consciously going to choose to start laughing at a low level, something like this. Then we're going to gradually, over about 10 seconds, we'll get it up to a medium, typical laughter level. And then a couple of seconds later, we'll bring it up to wild and crazy. And then we'll bring it back down. And then down. Okay, so I'll be here in giving, those of you who have a visual, you can watch me, my hands. This is low, this is center, and this is high. Or you can just listen or just go at whatever pace you feel comfortable. But we're always laughing. Ready, set, start. Yay! Okay, that's my two exercises.
Amazing, amazing. I love it. I love it. And then I just visualize people driving down the street.
Yes. Some exercises are good for driving, others not. Because when you drive, you want to keep your hands on the wheel.
Exactly. You can still have an internal
Actually,
chuckle.
I'll tell you, I'll give you one good laughter exercise you can do while driving, is that while you're driving, you look at every thing that's helping you, and you laugh. So you look at right side mirror, center mirror, left side mirror, speed, out the windshield, other side, So you're doing all these things that you do safely to drive, being aware. But as you're doing them, you're choosing to laugh. Now, if it ever gets serious, like, accident, then you can stop laughing and take care of, drive seriously for a bit. And then as soon as okay, everything's fine. Then you go back to laughing, right? It doesn't mean you close your eyes. You don't take your hands off the wheel. You're just adding laughing while you drive. The very first time I did this, because after I started doing laughter yoga, I made a commitment to myself. I was going to laugh every single day. And before I had a laughter club that met every day, I had a promise to myself I would laugh every day. And sometimes my day was, I taught other yoga classes and I had meetings and stuff. Sometimes the only time I had 15 minutes free was when I was driving from one place to the other. I said, okay, I'll do my laughing while I'm driving. And I, looked at my watch, the days when you wore a watch on your wrist. I looked at the watch, I say, okay, the one's there, so I'm going to laugh until that one is over there. Okay, 15 minutes. And then I would laugh and look at the windshield, and whenever I see a white line in the road, I'll laugh. They're all over. Whenever I see the license plate of another car, I'll laugh. They're all over. Okay. And after 15 minutes, I looked at the thing. Now the pointer's over there. It's been 15 minutes. I felt so good from laughing. It's like, I don't think I want to stop. I'll just laugh a little bit more. And I laughed a couple more minutes until I felt like, okay, I've had enough.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So So you laugh a lot on your own, which is obviously something, but I mean, I did, again, this is something else that I did. So when I started doing Zoom laughter sessions, there was like my bedroom and Chloe, where we sleep, it's just up there. So in the morning, there would be like Chloe would say, "There was no one there this morning, was there?" And I was like, "No, I could just tell." It's like because your laugh was a lower level. You were still laughing, but she's like she could always tell when I'd had a good one because literally the rooms go down. So you I mean you can laugh on your own. You don't need somebody and to obviously when you've got someone to laugh with it obviously helps a lot because you can get there quicker. um so what other little exercises do you do, or you just have it literally every day at this time I go and laugh? Is that the
Yeah,
habit that you've got? Yeah.
yeah, that's it's a healthy habit. I know in your notes about your podcast, you talk about people who are not just laugh people, but people who are enjoying life, having a healthier life.
Mm-hmm.
So people have habits they do every day. One of my favorite habits every day is shortly after waking, I brush my teeth. Oh, not bad. Another one is I make uh, about 20 ounces, a large cup of water, which I heat, and then I add something. I used to add lemon, sometimes I add a bit of vinegar or a little something. So I drink a warm beverage, not coffee, no stimulants, just warm, soothing beverage. So those are two of my habits I do every day. Another habit I do every day is I sit and meditate. Because if I don't do 10 minutes of meditation, just quiet, silence, if I don't feel grounded for the rest of that day in general. So those are three of my habits. And I have a fourth habit, and my fourth habit is to laugh for 15 minutes. And whatever that takes. So for 15 years, it was going to the laughter club. A few days a week, I taught. I taught at a senior home. I taught at a park. You know, and now I do my Facebook presentation. And when the weather is not inviting, I do it in my home. And when the weather allows, I go outside. Often I go to the beach, which is beautiful here, or up to the hills. But sometimes I just go in my own. I have a little patio, and I hope the neighbors don't complain. But at least where I live, there's enough space. I don't have anyone right up on top of me like you. But hopefully they don't complain. I'll tell you one story. Okay, one story. So for a while we were laughing in the early days of the Laughter Club. Part of my intention was the Laughter Club would be for everybody. Every human being that could possibly come was welcome. So we met on a little bluff, overlooking the ocean, where there was parking for cars not too far away, and you could find a place to park. That way, people who couldn't walk down usually before to have access to the sand of the beach, there's a staircase or multiple staircases. So some people can't handle staircases, older people who've been in accidents. So we met right there on the bluff. All right, so we met on the bluff for a couple of weeks. This is when we were meeting 3 days a week. And then we got a noise complaint. A gentleman called me up and he said, "Hello, I live in the apartment right across the street from that park." And this is when we were meeting at 7 in the morning. And he said, every 3 days a week in the morning, I'm woken up by the sound of people laughing. I don't want to hear the sound of people laughing when I wake up. And I said, "Oh, but please, it's so good. It's for your health. You're welcome to join us. Why don't you get up and join us? You'll be glad you did." And he said, "No, you're not hearing me. I don't want to hear the sound of people when I wake up at 7 in the morning." And so I actually called the police department. I mean, I called a person at the police department, the chief of police, because this is a small town, 25,000 regular residents. So I knew him, not very close, but we talked a few times before. So I said, "Don't we have a right to be in a park, a public park?" And laughing is, people go to a park and laugh. If we were children laughing, would it make a difference? And the police officer said, "Well, technically, yes, you have the right, and you could take it to court and you would win. But what we as a police department do is, if we get a complaint, we will shut you down. And we'll tell you not to do it because you're getting complaints from the neighbors. And if you want to take it to court, go ahead." But I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to, have the antagonism with the man. The bottom line was, whether laughter was a good sound or not, it was loud enough that he didn't want to hear it in the morning. So after that, we found another spot on the beach where there were no residences nearby. The only business that was there, which was pretty far away, was a restaurant. So if they were open at 7 in the morning, it was people preparing the food for the they didn't open to the public till 8. So people who were there were just cooking. So they didn't mind hearing us laughing on the beach. And since then, we never had a noise complaint about laughing on the beach.
That's crazy. That's crazy that someone said
odd.
that. Isn't it? It's like, it's not for everyone. And as Mrs. Cann says to me, it's not for everyone, Pete. I was like, I know, but
it's hard to believe. But,
I know.
Well, I know. I'll tell you, a dear friend of mine, one of my best friends, is a laughter yoga teacher, leader. She helped to produce programs with Dr. Kataria, so she's very experienced, and she's one of the people that would come to Laughter Club on the Beach 4 or 5 days a week. But before Laughter Club, she was also a stage performer, specializing in comedy. Not a stand-up comedian, but she was an actress who could do all kinds of acting, dramatic and comedic. And a lot of her, at least 10 or 15 years of her life recently, was doing comedy acting, making people laugh at you. So she started doing laughter yoga, and she's, I don't even, there's no pressure anymore. We just laugh. We have great laughs, and there's no pressure for me to be clever or witty or anything. I said, no. After the laughter session, we can go out for breakfast, and then you can be witty. That's fine. I like witty. I do witty too. So the funny part of the story is her friends, when they learned, her friends from the theater world, when they learned that she was starting to do this laughter without jokes, they shared with her they were concerned. They were alarmed. They thought, now that she's laughing without jokes, was she going to stop laughing to jokes? Were they going to lose the pleasure of her joking and making fun, making puns and witticisms when they went out? And she had to reassure them, no, don't worry. This doesn't take away your ability to laugh at things you think are funny. In fact, it actually makes it easier to laugh at things that you think might be funny or not funny. You say, well, that was kind of funny. I'll laugh anyway. Right? So you'll have more laughter in your life if you do this. But I'm saying that it is true that for some people, they don't realize how good it would be if they tried it. In which case, that's okay. We keep inviting them. When you're ready, come and try. And some do, and some don't. My brother was trained as a laughter leader by me. My son was trained as a laughter yoga leader by me. But my sister said, nah, thanks, not for me. My own flesh and blood. She likes to laugh, but she just, just wasn't for her. It's okay. All right.
It's okay.
Probably if we get 51% of the world laughing, then we'll have world peace.
Exactly. We're on to a winner then, aren't we? So it's brilliant. So Jeffrey, I'm going to start wrapping things up now, and but first of all, want to say thank you so much. This has been a pleasure, and definitely some lovely stories, and just being able to share laughter with you, it's been amazing. So where can people find you if they want to reach out to you and find out more about you?
Well, when my website is functional, which right now it's got a hiccup, but it should be very soon. LY for Laughter Yoga, lyinstitute.org, lyinstitute.org. Or even easier to remember, which was since my Laughter Club, it's joyfulb.com. That's JOYFULB.com. Joyfulb.com. Look it up on the web, and or just Laguna Laughter Club, Laguna Beach, California, Jeffrey Briar. If you search Google, you can find me. And I'm not good on the telephone. I don't particularly like talking on the phone, but email is good for me. And my email is joyfulb@cox.net. That's JOYFULB@COX.net. Let's see how long that lasts.
Amazing. And I'll put all that in the show notes as well, so people can just grab that. So final question then, what 3 things bring you joy?
Only 3. Okay. Well, I won't even talk about laughter because that's too obvious. Well, I'm a musician. I'm a pianist. And playing something really well brings me joy. More than once, I'm playing something, and as I'm playing, I'm actually weeping because I'm going, this sounds so good. And I can tell, oh my gosh, this body has put in so many thousands of hours to practice to make this sound so good. So that's one thing. Beautiful music making gives me joy. Another thing is sharing. So, of course, sharing laughter, but another thing I'm doing right now is I'm sharing music appreciation classes through Senior Center. Right now they're Zoom classes, so it's all, everyone's in various locations. But knowing that I'm sharing good music and education, and when I see my students and, the light bulbs go off and they go, oh, I like that, or I'd never thought of that, that also gives me joy. And the other thing is chocolate.
Nice.
And that's cheating. Right? It works. It's not really joy, but I wanted to give a short answer because the timing was funnier.
Yeah, amazing. Brilliant, Jeffrey. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to press stop now, and I'll keep talking in 2 seconds. So take care. All right, bye.
Bye.